You remember those words you shared with me that day, that afternoon, and you were very nonchalant about the prayer too. You were like, well, I prayed. Very nonchalant, Rachel.
Music licensing reimagined.
Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of the You Deserve Fresh Lettuce podcast. I am your co-host, Rachel.
And I am Delia.
And we are going to be talking about something that is really like, it's the only episode you ever listen to of the entire future of this show is this episode. You did yourself a huge favor.
And you want to listen to this. These words are impactful. So let me just go back really quick. We have a little coffee, we have a little tequila. There's going to be some tequila moments possibly. And so you might want to drink a cocktail, a mojito, tequila, a little coffee, whatever. Make sure, maybe just water. But yeah, there's going to maybe be some moments that we may need to cheers.
Yes.
Because we may need this. So either way, let's dive into it.
If you don't know who we are, please take a listen to the very first episode and you will get a little bit of background about who we are, how our friendship became to be, and why we're doing this show for you. So let's talk about that prayer. So if you listen to the first episode, we talked about how we met. We met on Delia's 30th birthday 10 years ago. Not to put the age thing out there.
It was only
Big on. It was like yesterday.
10 years. It was on my 30th birthday, but it feels like 6 months ago. Who's counting?
Right, I'm not counting.
Okay, who cares?
And so basically, one of the things we explain is that I was actually kind of unknowingly really on my way out of my divorce, and then out of my marriage of like almost 20 years. And Delia was what appeared to be the height of it all, because I was at this 30th birthday, let me tell you, and it was so spectacular, and her husband made this like remarkable speech, and the first thing I remember doing is looking at her reaction. And it's so weird because Delia and I were we vibe, like from the first day we met, we just kind of had a little bit of a connection, we became fast friends, but you can listen to that on the first episode. But I just kind of picked up on something, and over time she gave me little smoke signals, and I knew there's just more going on here. So basically, one of the things that we fast forward several months into our friendship, and I then actually know, because your birthday's in May.
Right.
And so my marriage ended a month later in June.
Okay, so that's just the way that the calendar and the timing and the numbers worked out for us.
So basically, my marriage ended at the end of June. Actually, the day after Father's Day was not like when I filed the divorce, but it was like over. Like he moved out, it was over. And what I'm about to share with you in this episode, and Delia is actually going to share her experience with this, is how I even got to that point to say
it's over.
It's over.
Yeah.
With 2 kids, 20 years, family entangled like this. I love my in-laws till this day. Love them. They love me. It's like I'm an only child. Well, I was. That's a whole other thing later on to be continued on the You Deserve Fresh Lettuce podcast.
Next episode.
Yes, and so here's how I even came to that point. I had a lot of red flags, not in the beginning, actually throughout my marriage. I think every woman has a radar going off inside of them.
And we want to turn it off. The gut says this, and you're like, but I don't want to believe that. And you want to kind of just pretend you didn't see it, hear it, feel it, know it. It's just you want to turn off your senses, basically.
That's what it is. It's like we get so mad that our husbands lie to us, but we are lying to ourselves more than any man is going to lie to us, like plain and simple. And so the journey is really like this long journey that we're going to be sharing throughout several episodes. But at the end of the journey, I was continuing to really see, like the alarms were really going off. So we're early in my marriage, just to kind of give you some context. When I was a teen mom, a teen wife, and he had cheated on me. But when you're first married, you still don't even have enough like clues.
And then you almost think like they're gonna change, right? You're like, they're sorry, I'm sorry, and then you think that he finally got it. Like
Yeah,
he gets it.
and that's where I was because I was really young, and then we got married right away. Then we had the baby, and so like, I'm like this pregnant mess. I'm 18 years old, and I kind of thought like maybe, but at that age, I'm telling you, and it doesn't matter what age you are. If you're a newly married woman, like you're on cloud 9, and you might notice some things and think, no way. And so I did go to my grandparents a lot, and I was like, I'm kind of noticing. They're like, Rachel, don't go digging. Like it's
because if you look, you'll find.
Yeah, it's like you're you're pregnant, hormonal. You're making something out of nothing. So I had some experience with red flags that I ignored.
Right.
And
turn the red flags into trees.
Yeah. Yes. And so I had ignored them, even though there's like bonfires or whatever. And then he actually then got caught cheating. And so he ended up, I ended up staying. That's a whole other show.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to express is that in this journey, I started to learn what the red flags were. So in the last year, so just for you listening at home or wherever you are, we have landscapers outside who are just deciding to like
keep everything manicured.
Join the show. Hopefully you guys can't hear it. So basically I was not a rookie when it came to the red flags, but I became very seasoned at choosing my battles. And when I had started to come to the end of the road, my husband at the time, had actually went to go help a brother who's in the restaurant business start his business and do it. So he was actually gone for a total of 2 months.
Wow.
And when he left, he was in tears. He was like, I don't want to leave my family. You guys, oh my God, we were like in a really great place.
Right.
He, though, had become unemployed. I actually owned a magazine at the time.
I remember that, of course.
And so it kind of went like this.
Magazine.
And so here I was, my career was like taking off, and I was getting a lot of notoriety and stuff like that. And his career was coming to an end after like many years at this corporation. So anyways, he takes this opportunity, and it just seemed like if that's what he thought he had to do for the family, then I get it. And I wanted to be the supportive wife. And so what ended up happening is that when he returned, which by the way, I had almost like forced him to come back. My older son was going through some troubles and stuff, and I was like, it's just time. Like, he wasn't making money over there. It just, none of it was what he thought or I thought it was going to be. And it was time for him to come home, and yet he was like making excuses as to not come home, which was really weird.
And you feel that gut, that feeling's like something's off.
Yes.
I'm sure you were like, I don't want to hone in on the off, but something's off.
Yes, and if any of you have ever seen the movie The Waterboy, I raised two, so I'm a boy mom, so like I've had to watch these ridiculous movies.
Yes.
There's a scene where the mom, where she's telling the story about like the dad and why he disappeared, and it was these letters, and at first the letter was, dear, Rebecca, I miss you and the boy so much, I miss my family, and then it ends with like the third letter being, to whom it may concern.
Like, very formal.
And so it was like, and he's like, ciao, Roberto, and his name wasn't even Roberto, it was like Jack, but he wanted to sound exotic, so it was one of those things.
Gosh. Yeah.
And so I just thought maybe something's going on. So he gets home, he makes it back home, and one of the things was, he was acting so different.
Oh, that's when you know.
It was so different. And see, not everybody has and that's a blessing. Because sometimes we get subtle hints.
Right.
And then we're like, that's
not right. Something's off.
Yes.
And then you don't want to be that crazy person.
Oh, yes.
And then they draw you out to be crazy too, though.
Yes.
Like, maybe I'm losing it.
So this was like a bonfire. This wasn't like a little smokestack somewhere. This was like a burning house. And I was just like, this man... I mean, completely different music. I won't even get into like the red flags because I don't want you guys to become paranoid and be like, why are you listening to country all of a sudden?
Right? You're like, you hate country. All right.
Yes, what happened? So what ended up happening was I had a decision to make because when I was really young, as I mentioned earlier, he had cheated and got caught. And we worked through that. It was really difficult. But at that moment, during that time, I made a promise to myself that no matter how old I was, that I could be 85 years old.
Right.
And if I was basically drawing the line in concrete.
Right.
Not in sand, because sand get blown around by emotions.
You know, a little wind kicks off the freaking line.
Emotions, stay blowing that line and moving it.
Concrete.
And some of us were married to habitual line steppers.
Of course.
So it was drawn in concrete. And let me tell you, I made that promise to myself. And in the first episode, we talk about deserving fresh lettuce and how this came to be and how sometimes we don't give ourselves what we deserve and we put up with so much. And that was one thing that I had to make a commitment. And once I really committed, like I was like, never, ever again. He gets one. And like Delia said earlier, you make these stories around like he learned his lesson, because he really acted like back then, like, oh my God, I could never do this again. Like now that I see the pain.
My family, I want you guys together. We belong together.
The kids, the house,
the grandchildren, and the kids are little still. You're like, okay, you're going too far.
Oh, I got hit with the grandkids too. So yes,
you have to. Yes.
So
especially when they mess up.
I made a promise to myself, and I was very specific. And I was in a bathroom crying. And actually, at this point, I had my second child. So he had cheated when I was pregnant with my first one.
Ugh.
And then, like, I think off and on between when my second one came. So my second one was like a week old. I was breastfeeding. And then he was like, I have something to tell you. But it was because I ran into an old friend who kind of knew the situation back then and was like, you know, So he was backed into a corner, but I let him be kind of like this hero type who was like, I have something to tell you. He tells me what happened, and I'm like, oh my God. So I'm in the bathroom crying, and I make that promise to myself.
Never again.
I was 23 at the time.
So young.
When I made myself this promise, and I said never again, and I focused on a bunch of other stuff. But anyways, I made that promise. Fast forward to when he actually cashed in that ticket. Because it's like a ticket. I mean, I went out as far as getting divorce papers and like having him sign them, and then I signed them, and then I had them like under the television hidden. Back then the televisions were like huge, right? And just so he knew at any time, if you do this, I'm gonna file these papers. So that was the 23-year-old me. But fast forward to, gosh.
So no BS tolerance.
We got like another 10, 12 years.
You know what? Yeah.
It was like another 12 years later. But all along I had red flags.
Of course.
12 years, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's happening. He just returned, and my husband is different. I sent one man on that flight, and I received a different man.
With long hair, probably.
Oh my God, the t-shirts were so tight, and it was like the music. It was just all the signs. It was all the signs,
You see it, and then you just want to think that he just changed his style, right?
In 2 months.
And then, or the phone has to now be right at his head.
Yes.
Or he has to be, you know, and these are the things that we notice, and it's a subtle, you know, we notice these subtle changes, but we just think, you know, the benefit of the doubt, like, oh, it may not be nothing. I think I'm being, you know, again, it's like the crazy thing, like I'm being a crazy girl. And they even will paint you out to be that, you know, because you're not.
It is like Twilight Zone.
Yeah, you're like, what are you talking about? You're crazy. And then you're like, I am crazy.
Am I crazy? Maybe.
I'm like, I do talk to myself.
Like I know I'm crazy.
Yes.
But like, am I acting crazy?
Am I really?
So I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore when I was doing carpool and I'm heading, you know, to take the kids to school, and my little kids are in the back seat. Well, my little one, they're 5 years apart, but my little one was like, Mom, where's Dad? And I said, he's in the house. And he goes, no, where's our dad?
Oh,
and it was like
he recognized he was absent.
Yes. So they knew he was totally different, something was going on. So anyways, I then decide, and at this point I was already kind of on a spiritual journey of really learning how to build a relationship with God, with Christ, and to really just understand that, to really figure out, am I even worthy of that? I knew that I had a lot of mistakes I'd made in my life, and there's just all these doubts. And so I made this really profound choice to kind of surrender. You know, people say let go and let God. They don't really emphasize like it's such a total surrender, and that that's scary. You know, because if you surrender everything, like you surrender your life to whatever the outcome is going to be, we're such in the mode of like keeping it together as women, as wives, as moms.
Keeping it perfect, keeping it together.
Just like right and tight.
No one can see it.
Yes.
No one can see it. If there's a big fight, then you just, like you just kind of like.
Keep it moving.
Keep it moving, yes.
And we're the glue, right? And it's like keeping it together.
That's the glue.
And now, but yet to have a relationship with God, you actually have to then let go of it and hand it to Him without knowing what His plan is or the path He's going to put you on.
Right.
And that's where faith comes in, because faith is to follow without seeing. And so then I'm like, okay, I think I'm ready to do that. I mean, I think no one's ever really ready.
No, I don't think so. But I think that you know what you've been through, you know what you're going through, and you know what you're willing to let go and find and figure out, and whatever that is. You expect it to be completely different, right?
Yes.
It's like the outcome's going to be how Disney likes to paint it out for us. This happy fairy tale wedding and the kids, and then you live in this beautiful mansion, blah, blah, blah. And then it's not like that.
No. And you know, and it could get real messy real fast, and all that's part of the plan.
It is.
And so I got to that point where I was like, I'm going to surrender. And no matter how painful or bumpy the ride or whatever it is, even when I was really young, my mom and my parents would say, how do you have the courage to do these things?
Right.
And I would say, I just leap and a net will appear. Like, I just know a net will appear. So I've always kind of had this idea, but I wasn't applying it in my marriage.
Okay.
In my marriage, it was like all me. Like, I got this. I got this. I got this. And so I had a tight grip, like as much as I could, on the image of my relationship, everything. And so when I finally made the decision to surrender, it was very out of my comfort zone. It was very scary. The unknown is scary. But I said, I trust you. Like, I trust you, God, and I am giving it all to you, for better or for worse. I'm going to expect the worst. I'm going to hope for the best.
Absolutely.
And go from there. And what I did was, I said that for myself, like almost like to prepare myself to just say, this is it, brace. But almost like instead of the impact, we want to brace.
Yes.
And this is to say, it's going down in a ball of flames, and this is
you
just.
don't know how you're going to come out of it and how you're going to survive.
This is just sitting there and just going, okay, and hearing the alarms and the people screaming and like everything falling apart, and being calm in it. And trusting. And so I ended up saying a prayer. And I basically just prayed to God, and I said, dear God, show me who my husband really is. Show me who he really is. Show me the man he is when I'm not looking. Show me the man he is when no one's looking.
Wow.
When he thinks no one's looking. Because I know you're looking. And so,
Rachel, where did you even come up with those words? Like, were those, did you read that? Because I'm curious. Every time I listen to people, I always want to know, did you get that from a book? Was that something from, was that an insight that came through? Or where did you get those words?
I think it's a combination of just things in life, people that come in, things you read, because I do remember seeing or hearing something, it might have even been in the Bible, that was like, and it might have been in Spanish, we're both Mexican, we're Latina, and it was something like, show me who a person is when they think no one's looking, and I'll show you who they really are. And it could have been Oprah in the 80s, for all I know, but I know that was something that just came through. It wasn't something I lived by. It wasn't something I had ever spoken about before.
Right.
And it wasn't something I had heard.
Just what came through.
It just came through in that moment of total surrender. And it was like, dear God, show me. And so often as women, we don't want to actually see.
Right.
We're like in this duality, like this quest for what's he doing? What's he really up to? And not wanting to know.
Right.
And really not wanting to know.
It's kind of like the famous cover your eyes, but then your fingers are open, so you really are trying to pretend that you want to see what you don't want to see, because you want to continue to pretend or just you want it to be better. You expect better. And so
it makes it really tough because it's not a natural response.
Right.
And when you love something so much, like I loved my husband. I wasn't one of those women who stayed with the man and then the love fizzled away and then I left him because it was over. I divorced someone I was still in love with.
Oh, that's tough.
You know, so it makes it really hard. And so, but guess what? I had to love myself more.
Right.
And I had to trust God and love God more than him even.
Right.
Because I had gotten to a point in my life where he was my life in so many ways. I mean, everything you do, I had like my career and my kids and my husband.
Right.
But it was like, where's God in it? And it's like, oh yeah, we pray. Oh yeah, like, we believe.
Forget about that part, right? Especially when things are going. I mean, I think the people that keep it together, most of the time, they have that faith, and it continues. It's not like you lose it. And then you do say like, oh, we say a little prayer. I go to church, you know. There's the wedding. There's the baptism.
Yeah.
Yeah, we go to church.
Yeah.
And so, but you're not going with your heart, body, soul, spirit.
Like cracked open.
Right.
And so I wasn't really a churchgoer or anything. It was just something that I was called in my spirit to do. But I also understood that I had to, we talk about bracing for impact. I had to be spiritually prepared and mentally prepared for anything.
Right.
It wasn't like I had to be prepared for XYZ. No. This is like pulling that little string, that little thread that's just there, and realizing that it could unravel the entire thing.
The sweater
is just falling apart and leaving the comfort zone. And that's exactly what it felt like. That's what it was. So I surrendered and I said, I'm ready to know who this man is.
Wow.
And to lift the mask, remove the facade, like whatever these goggles I'm looking through are, clear, like take them off. I want to see. And it was so powerful. Oh, but also I also said, but God, prepare me to take the steps that you intend for me, because here's what I knew.
Right.
I couldn't ask for him to show me and then do nothing.
Right.
I knew that I couldn't just go to find out what's going on and then just sit there with the man and punish him for 2 years or the rest of our lives of
What's going to be the reaction to the prayer? Like how are you going to react to the impact?
Yes.
How are you moving forward, and how are you going to take the steps? So then on top of the prayer that you made, you had to kind of back it up with another prayer. Is what
yes, because you have to like surrender, and then you have to say what you want to have happen.
Right.
So I wanted to see.
Right.
I wanted to see, and for him to reveal my husband, not who's that chick on the side, who's he texting. No. I just want to see who he truly was. And then I had to then pray for whatever I'm shown to be able to accept it, not make excuses for it, not doubt it, accept. Like this now I could say is like Maya Angelou, you know, she always said, when people show you who they really are, believe them the first time.
Yes.
And we don't believe them the first time. See, we need all kinds. See, women, we could be told he's cheating. We could be told, I slept with your husband. We're like Inspector Gadget, unless we saw the video.
And then you say, well, did you see how she was dressed? Of course.
Well, look at what does she do?
Excuses. You make excuses for them.
Yes.
And for their actions and for whatever it is that they're doing. So we're not saying that all men are bad, by the way. But this is your story.
Yes.
What you went through and your prayer and how it all unraveled the sweater.
Yes.
And what you had to do in order to pray for it to be shown, and the prayer to back it up to say, give me now the strength to not only see what I see, but take action, move forward, and say, okay, what is my plan A, B through Z when it comes to being shown?
Yes, because it's like a nuclear blast coming into your, and you know what? It didn't have to be.
Right.
It could have been that he didn't do anything and that God showed me he's just going through a midlife crisis, or he's just struggling financially, whatever, you know, but he still not know how you're going to like provide for yourself. You're not going to know. You're not going to know like anything.
And not to mention there's things that happen, right? Like for instance, there's like the holidays. Like how do you then take what you knew for so long, like This is how we share the holidays. This is what we do during this time. This is,
Ugh.
you know, from January to December, right? This is how life is lived. And all of a sudden someone grabs, it's like they put you in a box, they shake you, and then they're like, figure it out. Now you're all dizzy. You're like, what am I going to do? And so, you know, you just kind of, it's kind of like walking again. You have to teach yourself, like, okay,
Yes.
this is January for me now. This is February for me now. The first year is so chaotic because it's all new. And it's a new world, new life for you, because
Yes.
before you actually got married and had children, or if you didn't have children, whatever the case is, there was a different kind of life, which is a single life. And then all of a sudden, you know, you're now in this box.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden they shake you up, and now you're in this box, and you got to figure things out and say, okay, how am I going to provide for myself, for my family? What does the holidays look like?
Yeah.
What does Saturday nights now look like? Because guess what? You're no longer going to Saturday night movie or dinner.
Yes.
Now it's like, okay, maybe mini skirts and nightclub, or
Yeah.
not. Like, what does that balance?
Then there's
have?
like the daycare situation. I mean, there's so
Right?
many
There's just
things.
so many variables to now coming into this life, and
You got to do, yes, and
Mind.
you're on this journey that you have to have faith on, and
Absolutely.
you're on this
Always.
journey not knowing what each
Always.
step is going to bring, while your heart is still bleeding. There is still pain,
Absolutely.
and there's psychological stuff going on. There's so many things. That's what we're really excited to be inviting guests on who
Right.
are going to talk about, that are experts in these areas, to really like not only coach us but you guys, and give us these like tidbits to help us
Right.
get through
Kinda
those
dive
difficult things.
into the things that we don't know, like the insight, their insight. But definitely, I think, like, as long as you continue your faith with God and you say, Lord, just show me who this person is in front of me and behind me, and let me make the decision that best fits me in my life. And so, however it is that you have to say those words and those prayers,
Yeah.
just be ready for impact, because ask.
You shall receive. It is definitely going to be an awesome journey. Just know that you are looking at two women with different histories, different experiences, but a few things in common with regards to having to make the toughest decision you're going to ever make in your life.
Right.
And that is to walk away from the life you built,
Right.
the family you built. It's so difficult, or deciding to stay, because we've done both.
Right.
We've been through it and stayed through it.
Right.
And we are telling stories about when enough was enough.
Right.
And so you're seeing someone years later, we say it's single for 10 years, and oh my God, it's not for a lack of opportunity.
Yes.
It's just our eyes are so wide
And then you get gun
open.
shy, right? You're like,
Yes.
I'm good.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't know about that. And
Yes.
then, and I always say, like, getting engaged or getting married is easy.
Yes.
The commitment,
Oh,
that's the challenge.
that's a whole other show.
That's just different.
Yeah, and it's a whole other show, because there's just so many amazing things that we're going to be sharing with you ladies.
Absolutely.
But pray, and trust that even if you've already made the decision and you've already walked away, or he's walked away, whatever it is, just know you can still pray those prayers for yourself, to reveal your strengths, to reveal your path, to reveal, and basically putting it in God's hands and saying, hey, I want you to choose for me.
Right.
So part of why I say that I'm still single is I say, I don't want to choose the guy anymore. Clearly, I'm not a very good picker.
Your radar is
You know, my radar, my antenna is kind of like this. Okay, it's pretty damaged at this point.
No, I think it's damaged.
It's pretty fried.
Yeah.
And so my prayers these days are like, let his will be done,
I
and
love
you
that, Rachel. I love
you
that.
choose the guy for me. I want what you choose for me, because I know what I write down.
Yeah.
And I know that when I see someone, I'm like, and I could easily get obsessed with, like, how can I get this person to connect with me? But I'd rather just trust. I just trust God.
Trust the process,
Okay.
as they say.
So that has been the episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Please stay tuned for more, and stay here and listen to the mantra and say it with us.
Bye-bye.
Bye. We're all awkward.
Father God, I ask that you bless me to understand that it's always darkest before the dawn, that your plans for me are bigger than my plans for me. I trust in you, Lord, that you will light and shine the path I was meant to be on. I am open to receive the blessings coming my way. I declare that I deserve respect. I deserve love. I deserve happiness. I deserve to feel beautiful, and that I deserve fresh lettuce.